The really cool thing I loved was in Minnesota, I was in Minneapolis, which is a great city, was I, for whatever reason, got intrigued with all the mines that were there. Like, oh yeah, big surprise, refineries, mines, So I got a little chunk of change and I did the dirt path, as I called it, because I had just started Dirt Studio. I rode around the country looking at all different types of mining. And that is when I said, I went in. I visited, of course, with all, the engineers, mostly engineers, right? And, that is when I just, saw that they were being treated like machines, but you go into a bar and have a beer and a pasty, in Montana. And, so there was, this accumulation, I had no idea what I was going to do with it. It really just fueled the fire. And this time it was really mine, if I'm so bold to be possessive of mines. But it was really mine. I just was like, what was so great about going to all of these different mines and meeting with the engineers and sometimes several people, like the people running the mine, that's when I started to be angry, about how the mines and the people who worked there, past, present, were being treated, And then, of course, I went into the whole thing of, what the regulations were, and, I'm flashing to how I started to call Neil Kirkwood and just say, what the is up with that piece of legislation? And we were talking, the great thing is that we were talking about a critique of the legislation in terms of what I would often say, what the law looks like. And nobody was looking at what the law actually looked like, because if they did, it was ridiculous. We would be a support group for each other and to kind of keep going. I have to say, it was then, maybe it was then or after that, I started to work a lot with Superfund sites and the EPA. Oy, 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 oy. I mean, I think I made some headway, and I think that's when I got practice articulating what the potential was for landscape architecture here and what was being missed and what they were doing, blah, blah, blah. Just really kind of like analytical in a way, but making some headway about understanding them as cultural landscapes. Also with mining, they're sometimes quite remote. And I decided that I wanted to work at sites that were closer to communities, like cheek to jowl, just to really kind of, understand and begin to negotiate that relationship. So that's when I went into kind of manufacturing more. But it was teaching that allowed me to really experiment and get into it. I don't know how I would have done it just through practice.